Welcome to part 8 of Self-Inflicted Wounds, How to Heal When We Hurt Ourselves. I'm the serial intellectual, creator of intellectual products that transform people and change the world. We are in the last part of this series, and I'm really excited. Now, this last part, part 8, it's an absolute necessity. You have to reframe your self-inflicted wounds. Let's get into this and talk about what exactly it means to reframe it. Okay, first of all, I want you to think about a picture hanging on a wall. What would it mean to reframe the picture? Well, you say, well, you need another frame. Yes. And then you need to take the original piece out and put it in that one. Yes. But I'm not just talking about replacing the frame. I'm also talking about putting it in a different place. And that's what we want to do when we reframe our self-inflicted wounds. So we ultimately want to do this to ensure that it works for us and not against us. So here's what you're going to need to reframe your self-inflicted wound. You're going to need first a new paradigm or thought to put it in. So the old thought was, I'm such an awful person. That's why I did this. I'm disgusting. I'm crazy. I'm this. I'm that. To put that self-inflicted wound in a new frame means you say, this happened. It was unfortunate. It was what it was. But now I'm learning from it. And because I'm learning from it, it can actually make me better. That's what it means to place it into another frame. So if you took a picture, put it in a new frame, and put it on a different wall, it's gonna have a completely different aesthetic and look. And that's what we wanna do, right? We're not denying it. We're not doing that. What we're doing is we're reframing it so it can work for you instead of against you. Now, a second thing you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to put it somewhere different, right? Now, when I was originally working through the ideas of this story, I ran this idea, as I do by many people. Well, I have a friend, she's a therapist, and originally I said the last part of this should be to leave your self-inflicted wound because I didn't want people obsessing over them. And one of my friends said, no, you need to store it. And I thought, what a brilliant idea. So to reframe, you need to put it in something different. That's the paradigm. I need to think about it differently. I'm not going to let the old way I thought about my self-inflicted wound carry on with me. I'm going to think about it in a more redeemed, sanctified, and holistic and healthy way. But I need to put it someplace else because if you're like me, when we do these self-inflicted wounds, what happens is they're right here and they're right here. And they just live there, rent-free, and they're there 24/7, and they're popping up with thoughts and emotions, and all those parts are barking. You need to put them in storage. Now think about storage. Storage is typically where we put all of the stuff that we don't need, but we don't want to get rid of, and we want to keep it safe, so that in the event, which is usually never, when we need it, we can go get it. And that's exactly what you need to do with your self-inflicted wound. You need to put it in storage. What that means practically is it's no longer at the forefront of your thoughts, your emotions. It's not something that's always being bumped into in your regular and daily life because it's in storage. Now, this takes some work, a lot of work. And remember, this self-inflicted wounds, how to heal when we heal ourselves, it's a skill. And in order to acquire skill, you have to practice. And it takes time to acquire a skill and get good at it. But if you practice it, you will get good at putting these self-inflicted wounds in storage. Now, some people, when I say this, what they hear is denial. We're not denying. We've already covered that in the first parts. We've completely acknowledged this. We ain't hiding. Some people hear, well, are you diminishing it? No. Well, you are because you're putting it in storage. No, we're simply saying that this self-inflicted wound no longer needs to be right here. Why? Because I've acknowledged it and I've understood it and I've treated it and now it's healed and now I can put it in storage. And when I need it, I'll go get it and bring it out and then I'll put it back. I'm not diminishing it, right? And here's the other thing. that you gotta avoid. Major issue with reframing, and that's ducking, the discomfort. So as you're reframing, it can get uncomfortable. And if you start ducking, that ain't a good thing. Just face it head on. All of those feelings and thoughts are temporary. They will go away as you reframe. Now, I want you to think about this as we conclude this. There's a story in the Bible that's such a perfect story of reframing. And some of you may have heard about it. It's the story of Joseph. And many of you know that he was one of 12 kids, and his brothers sold him into slavery. And he ends up in Egypt, and he's in and out of prison, and he's falsely accused, but he ends up being second in command to Pharaoh. Now, while all this is happening, there's a famine in the land where his brother and fathers and all of his family is, right? So his dad sends his brothers to Egypt to go buy corn. Well, when they get there, they meet Joseph. And long story short, Joseph reveals himself, and the whole family comes up, right? And they realize, oh my gosh, what an amazing providence. Joseph's the second command. Joseph's like, I'm going to take care of you. It's all good. I'm second command. You're not going to starve to death. You're good. You're going to have a land. It's all good. But then Joseph's dad dies. And when Joseph's dad dies, his brothers think, watch this, that Joseph's going to get them now, which is kind of a logical conclusion. When you sold a child, he was probably 12, 13, 14 years old, and trafficked him, and then lied and said some animal ate him up, right? It's kind of logical seeing that now he's second in command. He can do whatever he wants. He could literally have them impaled and hung, and the Egyptians would be like, oh, wow, I guess they were bad people. They're thinking he remembers what we did to him. There's no way he's gone back into his past and reframed it. He's probably bitter and angry, and he's just waiting for dad to die. So what they do is, once dad dies, they come to Joseph and they say, hey, dad wrote a letter, which he didn't do. And he said, please forgive us for all the things we did wrong, and we'll just be your servants. And they were fully expecting Joseph to say, you know, rah, rah, rah. But what Joseph does in this story is miraculous. It says a few times that Joseph was moved with pity and compassion. And what Joseph says is this, it's a very famous line in the Bible. What you meant for evil, God meant for good. That's what it means to reframe something. Watch. He didn't say, what you meant for evil, it's nothing. I've just done some manifesting and some positive thinking, and I don't even see it that way anymore. No, he said, what you meant for evil, like it was evil. What you did was evil. I suffered. I was away from my family. I thought I was going to die. I was in and out of prison. I was falsely accused. It was crazy. But God meant it for good. What Joseph did was he took that suffering and he reframed it. He put it on a different wall in a different picture so that he could look at it through a different lens. So now he says, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. And a lot of people don't remember what he says after that. What he says is, so that I could keep many of you alive today. That's reframing, friends. And that's what I want you to do with your self-inflicted wounds. And you can do it. Grace and peace.